Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Gist with Girls in Science and Technology. Gist with Gist. Kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, Girls in Science and Technology Ghana, and let's learn from our amazing females in science, technology, engineering, and math, our females in the STEM fields. Please share these videos with all the amazing females out there who have seen this. Let's encourage our young ones to pursue careers in STEM. Thank you. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome once again to Gist with Girls in Science and Technology, Gist with Gist. So on today's show, I have an amazing, beautiful woman. She studied electrical engineering and went ahead to obtain an MBA. She's the first Ghanaian woman CEO in the telecommunications industry. She's the author of The Bold New Normal. She has bagged so many awards. She was the best telecommunications CEO in the year 2016. That's just one of the many awards she has bagged. So help me welcome Lucy Quist to Gist with Gist today. Hello, Lucy.
Hi, good to see you, and hello to everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So I want you to share with us what motivates you. What has been your motivation from the start?
I think I've always been motivated by the need to change our outcomes, to change our economic outlook, to change so that we create more opportunity. I've always been inspired and motivated by the fact that we have a lot of changes we need to make, and so it's so important that I work and I develop the skills and the know-how to be able to really be effective in participating in and delivering change. I think that's my real motivation. I think even building a career in engineering, building a career in business, it's ultimately all been about the fact that in Ghana and on the continent of Africa, we really need to work on creating an environment where people have a real opportunity to self-actualize, and to get into a position where you can influence that. You have to be able to build your own career and build your own self up.
Thank you. So as the first female, or should I say the first woman CEO in the telecommunications industry, you've also been the lead in so many other projects. Like, what have been some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome these challenges?
Interesting. When I became a telecom CEO, I must admit that in my mind, I was more concerned about age than gender. So I actually thought that it was age that would be a challenge, that people would say I was a bit young. But it turned out that, yes, people were more keenly interested in gender. I think some of the challenges have been a little bit around the fact that when you're creating change in an organization, it's quite uncomfortable for people, because you're asking people to think about the challenges of the business differently. You're asking people to think about new solutions. You're asking people to think about the possibility of different outcomes. And that's challenging. I think the best way to overcome challenges in that context is really about engaging people. You have to invest in understanding people as you build your career, and understand why people probably don't always readily align to the ideas you want to put forward, and bring them along. So the solutions that I always think in solution mode. There's a challenge, instead of like huffing and puffing and sort of giving out. My next thought is always, okay, so how do we solve this? And sometimes you need time to calm down, right? Sometimes you're a bit exasperated. You need to take time out and really calm down to re-engage the conversation. So it's about connecting with people, understanding with people. It's about learning to respect and understand different perspectives, and developing the ability to work with people so that you come out with the best solutions, which may not always be your solution, right? But you want the best solution for the problem at hand.
Thank you. So, as a lady, I love calling you a powerful woman. How are you? How are you combining your career and running the home? People find this. A lot of women find this very challenging. So, how are you making this work?
I mean, look, it comes with its challenges all the time, and I think depending on the stage you're in and on your journey, the challenges are different. So the challenges of that occurred when my children were very young were different from the challenges now, where they're all teenagers, so they're a lot older now. But I think the starting point is, first of all, understanding which stage you are in on the journey. I think it's really important to try and build your career as much as possible before. I'm not saying postpone raising a family, but try and work hard in the time before you get to having a family. Don't say, oh, I'm young, or I just graduated, or, I have more time. No, get in there. For me, right from day one when I was at work, I always wanted to be as much as possible at par with the people who are more senior, which means you spend more time learning, engaging, and understanding. Then on the whole family juggling journey, I'm not possessive at all, or when it comes to getting things done. So I believe that there are always people who are willing to help on that journey. You have to decide what aspects of your family life can be outsourced and what aspects you need to take care of yourself. But you don't have to do every single thing. The simple example I always give people is that, it doesn't matter who washes the clothes, they'll be clean. Clothes washing is not a special expertise that you have to hold on to for yourself. But there are other things around, values and teaching your kids that you need to be more involved with. So it's really about understanding. So really about making sure that your husband is a real partner, and that has to be an agreement from day one that you're working in partnership to grow together and juggle. And so when I'm in the workplace, I try to ensure that home is taken care of. So at work, I'm not thinking about work. I'm not trying to manage home and work at the same time. And then when I'm at home, I try to focus and manage home. Even if I have to carry on and do more work afterwards, I will make sure that we've done the family part of this.
The Bold New Normal. Lucy Quist is the author of The Bold New Normal. Can you share a bit of the book with us? What inspired you to write this book and the content of the book? Also, I'll put in the description box, I'll put a link to where we can find this book. We all have to read it. There's a lot to learn from it. So can you please share what inspired you to put this book together and just a little bit of the content for the viewers?
Yeah, so the book is available on Amazon and Book Nook in Ghana as well, but on Amazon, in fact, across Africa, if you order from Book Nook, they'll deliver booknook.store. The inspiration is, I guess, the same as what you asked earlier around what drives me. It's about change, right? It's about the fact that over time, over my life and career, I realized that we're not sufficiently working to create the continent we really want. So most of us are unhappy with the way the continent is, the continent of Africa, but at the same time, we're insufficiently investing in changing what we don't like. Yeah. And I believe that if you don't like something, you have to change it, but you have to think about how you change and what you're changing and why you're changing. And for me, it's, what do I want to change? I want to change. I think the continent needs to become a place where every single African has a real opportunity to prosper. So the Bold New Normal is about the fact that, we had accepted a certain normal for Africa, whether the people are African or not. We all say the same things about Africa. Oh, this, oh, that. And, I think people in Africa are probably the quickest to complain and not actually pay any attention, for the most part, to things that are going well on the continent. So the idea of the Bold New Normal is that, okay, we have our normal, but we need to define a new normal. But I don't think we should define a marginal increase normal. We need to boldly redefine a continent But when somebody is born, they have a real chance of good healthcare. They have a real chance of good education. They have a real chance of getting a job. Then you can say to the individual, you know, your future, your prosperity, your self-actualization is in your hands. But there has to be an environment that creates that. Now, a lot of the time, the conversation quickly veers into political circles, which is important. Governance matters, but governance is not enough. It's about the doctor who is taking good care of the patient. It's about the teacher who's doing the right thing. It's about the voter who's making the right choices to create a bright future. It's about the people actually visualizing a future and doing everything they can to create that future. That's what the Bold New Normal is about. So I talk about many themes that all feed into the idea of a changed Africa. I talk about us recreating a new vision. I talk about us speaking to the vision because, you know, sometimes we have great hope and aspiration, and sometimes some people even do have visions of a bright future. But when you actually talk to them one-on-one, they're just so negative. Even young, sometimes they're like, oh, you know, but, you know, we're from here, so nothing is going to work out. And I'm like, you want a bright future, but you keep talking about what's not going to happen. And then if you can talk about the right things and change your language, you start to influence how you think and how you act, right? And then the future is created. So it's about weaving all of that together. That's why I say, you know, the Bold New Normal, creating the Africa where everyone prospers. We need to focus on African prosperity. That has to be our primary objective. And I'm not talking about riches and wealth, where people can prosper, people can do well. Today, too many people on the continent are surviving. And that's not what creates prosperity. How long are we going to survive for? Generation after generation, are we simply going to survive? We need more than that. We need a continent where people have a real chance at thriving. Think about it. People are unborn in Africa today, and if we don't change anything, their future is already cast in stone. They're already going to have a hard time. That should bother us.
Yeah.
That should make us want to do things differently.
Yeah.
You know, we really, really should.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I would like to thank you for creating, for putting in the hard work to be where you are today, to be who you are today, for people like me, for the young ones to have a role model to look up to. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and thank you.
What will you say is your greatest achievement as at now?
That's a tough one. I think it's the kids. I mean, I'm really, really happy with where they are now in their lives. Like I said, they're all teenagers. I believe when you're really young, you start to build the foundation, and lots of it is around, we talk about education and all, but also values. But I think teenage years are precious years because you're not only transitioning into adulthood, but you're also finding yourself. And as I encourage my kids, I say, not just find yourself, but start to think of what you want to spend your life doing. And I find that the three of them, and I think they're each making different choices, but they understand the concept that their teenage years are not to be wasted. That doesn't mean that you should study round the clock. They study hard. I want you to be thinking of where you're going now as a teenager. Don't wait till you're 25. And they're all on that path. And I'm just really pleased that they're all in a good place. There's another one walking out.
They have an amazing mom. So I'm
smiling at my son walking past. And here's another one. So if you hear any noise, they just walk past.
I'm sure they are full of smiles. Mommy is proud of you.
Yes. No, very, very proud of them in that regard, because it's a responsibility to be a parent. And I think the most important thing I say to people is that, look, when I'm an old woman, a lot of the conversation, some of the things I've done professionally might be mentioned, but the ultimate focus or measure of my life is going to be, what are her kids doing? Yeah. And that's not because people are being unkind. It's because ultimately it is about the next generation. So I'm really, really pleased with that.
Thank you. So what advice do you have for young females in the STEM fields, or those looking to go into the STEM fields?
The first thing I'd say, and I'm going to cover both, like those in STEM and those going into STEM, First of all, I would say you need to stop persisting in thinking about yourself as a woman or female. You're an individual, you're a person. Think of yourself as a person who has abilities like any other human being walking the surface of the earth, the face of the earth, sorry. And so you want to bring the best of you, because what makes you who you are is more than your gender. Right? What makes you who you are is so many different aspects to you, what you like, your values, what you've experienced, what your interests are. So be an individual in this field. And then the second piece of advice is that, look, I think the greatest thing about STEM fields is that they make you a problem solver. So to solve problems is probably one of the biggest needs we have on this continent, because we have many challenges and we can't afford for some of our population to solve the problems. We need as many of us as possible to get into problem solving mode, really fix our challenges so that we can do what I talk about, which is about the change and moving forward. So I would say to them, don't be your gender, just be all of you. Your gender is one thing about you. There's so many other things about you. So gender is just one of your attributes, but not all that defines you. And the second is, I think you should really pursue, and even if it sometimes feels like hard work, go for it, push yourself a little more, because if you're going to solve problems, you really need the ethic and the ability to really check what you're doing and persist and drive it. So, and finally, I would add that enjoy it. I find STEM extremely enjoyable. I'm a curious person. There's so many things I don't know that I'm still always having to learn, but I always like to make new discoveries. I wish I knew everything, but I'm never going to know everything. And so that's the great thing with STEM. There's always something new to discover, something new. Even when I listen to my kids, like sometimes they remind me of something I did in school, or sometimes they'll say something like, okay, we never did that in school. Tell me about that. I don't know how that works. So I think it's really about also enjoying it. Enjoy it because it's fun. Don't let people tell you, oh, it's hard. No, it's fun. It really, really is. So enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I'm tempted to call her Auntie Lucy. She said, Ohima, Lucy is okay. So
Yes, I'm Lucy, and that's fine.
So thank you so much, Lucy, for making time to talk to us today. Thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule to meet with us today. Thank you.
Well, thank you too. I think, a big thank you to you, because you have taken the time to put this together, to look me up, to engage me and make this happen. And sometimes it's easy to underestimate the effort that it takes to actually set up engaging with someone. So thank you for your dedication and commitment to this. I know I'm not the only one you've interviewed, and I know I won't be the only one. So keep going so that you bring more and more examples to your audience, so that they learn. The same way that I learn. I listen to people and I learn, so that you're creating opportunity for people. I do find that representation matters. It's so important that people see someone or see people who they can relate to in certain fields, so that they're inspired to do the same. So thank you for the good work you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, viewers, for joining us today. Subscribe to our channel. Thank you.